Mr. Ubani, I know that Sulaiman was just asking if you had a middle ground, but I'm trying to get your stance. What exactly is your stance? Are you saying don't touch it?
Touch it only when you have done the fundamentals. Build refineries, because it is very foolish of a man that has a yam in the house to go outside and begin to buy pounded yam. Whereas what he's supposed to do is just provide pestle and the mortar, so your kids can know how to pound the yam. So to me, build refineries, because if you build refinery, there won't be any issue of subsidy. You're not subsidizing anything. You won't subsidize anything whatsoever, because this is what you produce. Why will I be a yam farmer and I'm buying pounded yam outside and I have yam in the house? Doesn't make any sense. Build refineries, there won't be anything to subsidize. That is what Nigerians are saying. Build refineries, and then we now have competitive price. It will even go down.
But what they are
it may not be
saying,
65 years.
Sorry, Chairman, what they're saying now is while we're already making plans, because I mean, so far so good, they've given us a timeline that look, we are working on the refineries that we have currently, and we're also planning to, in fact, we've issued licenses a long time ago, and we're asking people to build the refineries. Hopefully the first set will come up in 2015. But in the meantime, we cannot sustain the subsidy we are paying, because we might go broke if we continue like this.
Remove the luxuries of government. Don't you hear me? There are ways of reducing this so that won't be an issue. The economy will not collapse. Reduce your own expenses, your luxury, not the one that we're enjoying.
If we reduce the luxuries, it doesn't amount to 1.3 trillion.
My sister, if you know how much governors are collecting as security vote, only one governor has reduced his own, and that is a governor in Imo State, from 6.5 billion. One man alone in a year to 2.5. Even the 2.5 billion is so much for one man to enjoy as security. Whether there is security all over the place.
I'm not sure it's one man. It's for the entire state.
So the entire state. But it comes to him.
Government.
He's on account. He doesn't account for it, and of course, all those states are not safe anyway. But what I'm trying to say, reduce all that. The cost of governance, all these special aids to reduce all that. Cost of governance will reduce, and remove this issue of 36 tax structure. We're operating. You use all the money in recurrent expenditure. We cannot make progress that way, even if you remove the subsidy, because the money you would have freed is still used to finance their appetite.
I'm sure that is why we're here. That's why we like to have people like you to come in here, because the government seem to loads and loads of Nigerians as a listening government. That's Otherwise, you saw the number of officers who graced yesterday's event here in Lagos.
I saw that.
Once upon a time, you wouldn't see a number of government officials to come talk about any issue that bothered them on the people. So now that you're saying all of this, I'm quite sure the government is listening in that regard. So that is why Chamberlain is asking to know what amount of percentage you would love to see in that reduction of running the government, so that people can now say, well, we have actually tightened our own belt, so every other person can follow suit.
Yeah, if I look at the budget and I see that the presidency or the state governors in their budget have said, look, issue of security vote, I'm not touching it. I'm not taking any money as security vote. Rather, I can make even the issue of security to be privately funded, just the way the Lagos State is doing. I don't even know whether Lagos State still collects in the security vote. I see that. Then I see in the appointment of, you are so-called commissioners and special assistants, you have considerably reduce them. And I see the amount of money you budget for fueling of your state house and all that has considerably reduced. Then I now take you serious that you mean well for all of us. Then I see that the state house of assemblies don't go and begin to buy cars. They don't travel on first class tickets. That the government do not go have fleet of aircraft. In presidency alone, how much did we use last year to buy aircraft? How much? Okay, almost 3 or 4 aircraft we bought for the presidency last year. But and I'm not seeing a reduction in all cost of governance.
But again, in fairness, we need all of that for our president. We need all of that safety.
It doesn't require more than 3 or 4. But you have 7. What is it for? It's only one. When he travels, does he travel with 2 or 3?
When he leaves office, he doesn't go away with it.
Fine. But what we're saying is that your economy is on the brink. You are saying that.
Okay.
So it now matters how you now operate, the reduction of things you buy for your luxury.
All right, we'll listen to some more soon. But even yesterday, former governor, I beg your pardon, the governor of Edo State, former Labour, but he says,
yes,
it will get to a point, if you don't remove the subsidy, that the country will crash, such that even if you have your pounded yam, you won't have a dick ankle to go with it when it crashes.
That is appeal to sentiment. You see, when you do all that, when you say all that, you make Nigerians to feel guilty if they don't even buy into your argument. We are saying we are not against the regulation. The regulation and subsidy is really exclusive. Even in developed economies, they still subsidize some sectors of the economy in order to make people happy. Even with their capitalist tendencies, they still subsidize. They are not mutually, you can deregulate, but in the regulating, you don't punish Nigerians for your inefficiency. That's what we're saying. And before you do that, can't you put the fundamental things in place?
Well,
so that there may not even be subsidy in the first place, Sulaiman.
I understand.
If we put the structures in place, there may not even be any amount of money you are spending on subsidy.
Perhaps you react to this. There's another Nigerian who watched the town hall meeting yesterday, the debate. He says, his name is Roy. He said, I think Mr. Ubani is just trying to be funny. Judging by what we heard yesterday, it got to a point, even Labour was convinced with the government.
Which Labour? That has been my fear. That has been when they are holding this private meeting in Aso Rock and all that. These guys can be bought over, but Nigerians on the street, Nigerians on the street are not bought over by this argument by government.
Do you think it's possible?
What I'm talking about. It's more than possible. What we're saying, give us facts and figures why you must do this at this point in time. We're saying put the structures in place. By the time you put structures in place, there won't be issue of subsidy in the first place, because there is no OPEC country that is subsidizing for the oil sector. There is no country. There's an OPEC nation that is doing, except Nigeria. Why must you have? I have given you a simple market example, market woman example. Why will you have pounded yam in the house and be buying pounded yam outside?
Which other facts and figures are we looking to get here?
That the oil sector is that Nigerians are dependent upon oil sector. That the moment you do that, everything will go up. And you know the primitive economy of Nigeria. Nigerians will suffer the more, and then more will be ready for security.
Okay, let's give you some more reactions. Part of what was said yesterday, just in case you missed any part of it. Okay. Some highlights again.
What we are trying to do is to open up this sector so that we can have more competition and more supply of the product at a better price eventually. Next. So let's look at some of the reasons of why we want to remove the subsidy. I've been talking about it now, but one major reason to look at is the financial burden it is to our budget and to our finances in the country. From 2006 to 2012, we spent to 2011, we spent about the figure has gone. Can you put it back, please? We spent over 3 trillion naira, 3.7 trillion on subsidy. In 2011 alone, up to the end of October, we spent 1.348 trillion. And by the end of this year, we would have spent 1.43 trillion naira on subsidy. Now, why does this matter? It matters because it's eating up more and more of our resources. It's 30% of total federal government expenditure, 118% of the capital. That means it's 18% higher than the amount of money we spend on capital expenditure, and 4% of our national income. It is.
So there you have it, some facts and figures coming from the Minister of Finance. 30% of the total expenditure, 80% more than what they spend on capital expenditure. And so the financial burden is huge. Yeah. They can't bear it anymore, they say.
Yeah. She didn't tell us how much we have spent on security votes of governors and the presidency. She didn't tell us how much we paid the National Assembly members.
In fairness,
we don't have those figures. Only what we're having now is the issue of subsidy.
In fairness to this minister, it was during her tenure that figures that were allocated to state governors and local governments were being published. That particular regime has come back again. Okay. That we've started publishing how much state governors and even local governments get on a daily basis. These figures are published so that we can hold them accountable. Is she supposed to give us a breakdown as well? Is she in charge of state governors' budgets?
You don't understand. I also want you see, government is a continuous thing. You give us also how much do governors spend on security vote, because you only really reading out the figures on issue of subsidy. I agree with you that it is important we have figures, we have this in published, but after publication, what next? Who have you held accountable in this country? And those ones that are even been tried by EFCs, how many have been convicted? So what I'm trying to say, Nigerians have used to all these explanations and all that. When you talk about the luxuries of government, you don't reduce it. When we see seriousness on the part of government in this matter of fuel subsidy, Nigerians will give it.
Let me truly say,
but when we don't see seriousness, we keep on arguing against it.
Are they the ones who actually hold anyone responsible, or it is published for us to see and cry out if we feel anything's gone wrong?
When we cry out, the government agencies are the ones that are supposed